go ahead and get started. I know we'll probably have a few stragglers coming in just because we're a little ways from the main conference setting. So I'll begin. I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Dina Czar. I'm with Fort Hays State University. I'm Faculty Development Coordinator. And here are two of my colleagues, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Nathan Riedel. I am the Learning Media Coordinator in Teaching Innovation and Learning Technologies, which is a fun way of saying I make a lot of videos for people to watch and learn about different things.
My name is Nicole Frank, and I'm the Coordinator for Adjunct Support and Engagement at Fort Hays. I'm located mainly within the virtual college, but the role is expanding to include face-to-face adjuncts as well.
Okay, and we're going to let Nicole give you a little history about our onboarding process with using Curator, which is a social learning platform that you'll get familiar here with.
Okay. So we have new faculty orientation every year in the fall. As often happens, necessitation becomes the mother of invention. And in this case, what happened is year after year with this 2 to 3, sometimes 4-day new faculty orientation, that becomes kind of these long, drawn-out days of workshops and so on, we kept seeing problems. And those problems are certainly ones that I went through myself when I went through new faculty orientation, and ones that others who've been there much longer than I had or any of us had attested to. Mainly when you stretch something over 4 days and you have brand new full-time, typically tenure-track faculty coming to town, they have a number of things they need to do because they come to town as late as possible before new faculty orientation begins. They're closing loans on homes, they're hooking up things like cable, which all seems very silly and trivial, but you don't want to miss the cable guy at the house, you know what I'm saying? Or like in Hays, we just had fiber put in. If you don't get there to put in fiber, if you request fiber, it sometimes takes 3 weeks if fiber hasn't been put into your house. So you can't miss those appointments. Sometimes also, some of these new faculty members would actually be over in HR working on different documents and would miss different training sessions that we had going on with the Teaching Excellence, now Teaching Innovation and Learning Technology Center that has the job of orienting all these new faculty. We also have grown a lot as far as our off-campus options. We have 2 partnerships in China now, so we have a number of faculty on the ground, American faculty on the ground teaching in China. And our online sections have grown so much that we have about 200 adjuncts that teach exclusively online, and then another 10 to 12 full-time online positions that we have just now kind of been able to fund in the past few years. So we're growing in all these ways that are great, but they make new faculty orientation harder and harder to limit to this 4-day kind of conscribed, everyone come to campus and be in the same room at the same time and be completely done with the HR processes and have your laptop issued. Okay? So what happened is the innovative people over in our Teaching Innovation and Learning Technologies began to look for some other options to augment and in some cases substitute for different sessions in new faculty orientation. And that takes us to getting to the point of Curator.
I'm going to let Nicole give you a handout because if you're like me, I like to take notes as I kind of go through. We're going to actually demonstrate and show you so you can actually see a little bit about Curator. But one of the other things I did want to add, we have late hires, which I'm sure some of you all have those as well because, you know, everybody's out there trying to recruit faculty and sometimes they miss the orientation process. And like Nicole was sharing with you, our process, we actually have a 3-day orientation right now. The 4th day goes into a professional development day that we offer for all of our faculty. But one of the things that concerned us is there is so much content, and I'm sure you have the same, I don't want to say issue at your institution, but everybody wants a piece of the pie. Everybody wants that opportunity because you have a whole body of, 40 to 50 in our case, new faculty. So everybody wants that opportunity in that environment to share, the important things, whether it's a procedure or policy at the institution or something new that's come up with the institution that we want to share with this audience. So from that, what we decided was we as a team, there's about 8 members in our department. As a team, we sat down and said, okay, going back and taking a look at the surveys, because we do provide a new faculty orientation survey, we gathered that feedback and said, okay, what is it that they felt was important? What did they want to know that we maybe didn't cover? What can we do to make this process a little more, I want to say less, I don't want to say threatening, but it's intimidating because there's so much in your mind, and those of you that have been new faculty in the past, your mind is like, oh my God, I'm here a week before classes start. I've got 4 preps. I've got all this to get ready in my class, and I'm spending 3 of those days in an orientation all day long. So you're kind of tuned out, and that's just the reality of things. So we as a team sat down and said, okay, what are some of the things that they may tune out and may not get while we're going through the orientation process, but also just equally or probably more important, because there's so much, you just remember bits and pieces. Even though you have your agenda and your outline, you're like, okay, what did that lady really talk about? What is, last day of attendance, LDA, what do they want me to do for that? It's important, I know I'm supposed to do it, but what is that? So we took some of those elements as a team and said, okay, what are key things that our new faculty need to make sure that they will know and understand, and let's put together an outline. And so you have an outline, and even though Nathan doesn't give himself credit, I'm going to give Nathan credit, because Nathan was extremely instrumental in making this a successful project for us, because he spent hours upon hours upon hours contacting departments and people with the procedures and policies, saying, okay, we want to capture we're all about chunking and keeping things small and concise. We don't want to have 10-minute videos of information for people to digest. But how can he reach out, help them put together a video? Because when you ask someone to put something together, they have this big fear. I don't have time. I don't have the time to do this. When you have an expert in the field that goes in there, it's painless, it's easy, it's quick, and then he can actually plug those elements into Curator. So basically, that's how we came up with our outline. You'll notice that it's in a 4-week outline. The first part is basically a welcome introduction, and I'm going to ask if Nathan will just go ahead and I'll go ahead and skip that, I'm sorry. Okay. It will go in and take a look at Curator. So if you go in there. So the first part, what we did is we asked our provost to do a welcome. Even though he does a welcome with the new faculty, we wanted him to do a welcome with the faculty that were maybe late hires, because we did not enroll them. Orientation will actually begin for us next week, the 11th, but we did not enroll all the new faculty into Curator until September 1st, because then that gave us an opportunity to get some of those late hires in, people that weren't able to be on campus for the orientation, or some of our faculty, which we placed into a separate orientation, that are teaching in China, so that they also had their social learning platform. So, yeah, you can go ahead. You'll see how quick and short this is. And you'll see, Jeff is our interim provost, and so he gives them a welcome. He does a welcome video, and it was, 2 minutes? It was just a couple.
That one was a little longer. It was about probably 3.5 or so. No, 2:17. No, it was Glenn's that was like.
Yeah, our provost
like
last year's was a little longer, and so, these are the things as you're looking at that, and I'm glad you actually brought that up. Our provost last year, there was so much information that he wanted to share, but, part of our learning technologies department is we try to explain to people, you don't want to overload people. No one really wants to sit and watch a 10-minute video. So, we chunked down the provost. He still got his content in, but we chunked it down and put it in appropriately in the outline formats that we thought would best serve our purpose.
That's actually how we came up with our conclusion video. He had so much that we were just kind of like, what are we going to do at the end? And we're like, oh, let's just take this other stuff that he talks about and put it here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so we strategically did those things, which are important. As you look at your outline, one of the other things that, and we'll show you some of these so that you can get an idea of how this social learning platform, how we engaged and had the new faculty participate. But each week is geared to not take more than an hour worth of your time. So as a new faculty, you participated in a 3-day orientation process, but we've also chunked this down so that you can go back if you thought, okay, well, I don't remember, I know there was something in there about this checklist. Can you just kind of click on that? And I know that it was important because, they stood up there and said, make sure that you go through, if you have questions, you know, there's certain areas that you need to make sure your administrative assistant in your department goes through, and that you kind of ask that person about that information. And then we had the department chair, there's certain information we need to ask the department chair. And then there's also, in the bottom of that checklist, there's things that you, as a new faculty, need to be responsible and aware of, so that you could go back and look at that checklist and download that checklist in case you missed
Quick
that.
question on that.
Sure.
How did you develop that? Because has it always been that culture at FSHU? Or, in other words, did you have to consolidate information across different disciplines, different department chairs to come up with that?
Well, we as a department kind of set the tone on that. So again, just trying to go back through my own teaching experience, I met with the provost administrative assistant, because there were certain things that the administrative assistants said, hey, they're not getting this. Who's responsible for this? We don't even know who's responsible for this. So we're very blessed. Our provost administrative assistant meets with all of the administrative across the disciplines, administrative assistants. She meets with them monthly. So when Cindy and I sat down, we knew there was a gap, because people come ask me, and I'm like, that's a good question. I don't know. As faculty development coordinator, and it wasn't something that was handed down.
Right.
I've only been there 3.5 years, so that wasn't something that was handed down to me. So we just saw the need, and so Cindy and I sat down and kind of created this and said, okay. Then we started looking at duties and responsibilities. So I went to the chair's table meeting and said, okay, here are some of the things. This is what we think fits best for your duties and responsibilities. This is what we think fits best for the administrative assistants. And then as a faculty, this is what we think we should be responsible for. And we let them kind of determine that. So this has been extremely helpful, because also along with this, I know we're really here to talk to you about the curator platform and how we engage them online. But one of the things that we do is we actually put a whole packet together. So we go to the chair's table meeting, and we go to academic council meeting and say, okay, orientation's coming up, here's a whole packet. You're getting the same thing that your new faculty member is going to get. So then that way they have that awareness. So that's been beneficial.
Well, and they were always supposed to be on board consistently the same way across the departments. They just weren't being, right? I mean, that was.
Right.
That is correct.
And sometimes it's just a matter of a new administrative assistant is hired, and there's a breakdown in communication. And so, the ones who've been there for a long time, they would know what was going on and had to take care of their faculty. But the newer ones, they weren't even aware of some of the things they were supposed to be doing for the new faculty.
Right.
They thought the new faculty orientation people, teaching innovation and learning technologies people were taking care of it, until people thought
The
departments were taking
provost
care of
office
it.
was taking care
Right.
of it.
Right.
Or tech services was taking care of
Right.
it. So,
Right.
and Nicole's absolutely correct. So there was always some element of, each little department area had certain elements of onboarding, but it wasn't quite as
It's spelled
consistent.
out.
The other big important thing, and I'm sure you guys face the same dilemma, like last year, we had a brand new department chair and a brand new administrative assistant. So they didn't, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So you don't even know to ask, because you don't even know that it exists. So we thought this would be a better way to have a consistent message. So we took the initiative to reach out and say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. But we're a support unit. We're here to support you all. So you tell us if this is accurate or not accurate. As we take a look at that, so you have the provost message, and then we also put the staff handbook in there, because there again, it's online, it's on a website, but we thought instead of them trying to locate certain things that were important, that it'd be better for them just to kind of go through, and we kind of curated this for them. Activity, where are you? This is just kind of a little fun activity, so that you go in and pin where you are actually located. So as a new faculty, why would this be important, or an engaging activity? Why would you want them to do that? To pin where they're located?
So they know how to get someplace else.
Well, they know how to get somewhere else.
They could use the same tool in their classroom.
They could use the same tool in their classroom. Great. What else?
They might know somebody down the hall.
Absolutely. And that's what I thought of when I first did it. I thought, well, that's great, because now I see, I'm over here in Rarick Hall, there's somebody else, that I haven't met, but there's someone else that's in Rarick with me. So I click on that, and their name pops up. Now I know who else is located, there. So So I think, that was kind of a fun feature, fun fact. And there again, it gets them involved. One of the other features in this, which I should have probably pointed this out for, if you want to go back to the one where we had the checklist, if you'll go here. Notice there's a comment box. One of the things our whole department, which I think is, is very important, we stay very engaged because we also want them to utilize our services. Again, like I shared with you, TILT, the Teaching, Innovation, and Learning Technology, is a support unit for the academic departments. And so we go in and we monitor the discussions there. So that gives us an opportunity to get to know the new faculty as well, and it really creates a bond. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember Dina at New Faculty Orientation, or Nathan, or Nicole, or Carrie. I remember these individuals. Now, I'm seeing their name over and over and over. So they're more than likely going to come in and utilize our services. So instead of just that initial, we're stand up, that our little dog and pony show type thing in front of everyone, now you've got them engaged over a 4-week time period. So that creates that. That opportunity to get to know one another. So we all take turns in answering the questions. It's not like, anybody singled out. The other thing that we like about this, sometimes they remember somebody else. Oh, I don't remember. Somebody talking about Title IX. Who is that? So then we connect them with Keegan Nichols, or now it's Teresa Klein. So anyway, this has been a very good opportunity to get them engaged. Nathan, can you kind of walk us through, can we go to week 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Notice, like I
week
shared
2?
with you, it doesn't matter which one, we can do the professional development one. So once they finish week 1, they have to go through, they earn points. There's a point system. There's an actual leaderboard, if you see that where the trophy is in the upper left-hand corner. Nathan's going to kind of take you there. Now you will notice Nathan is at the top of the leaderboard. Now for those of you that love gamification or that are incentivized, I'm a very competitive person. Even though I'm only down here with 3 points, I still am a very competitive person. So what happens with the leaderboard, it makes it a little more incentivized. We got our provost to take, there again, we have between 40 and 50 new faculty during the orientation process. He decided he would go ahead and take the top 10 points, top 10 players with the most points to dinner. So we all went to dinner one night, the provost bought them dinner. So there again, it was another opportunity to get, the faculty involved, but also to get them comfortable with knowing some of their peers outside of their discipline in most cases. So you have a leaderboard that you can kind of monitor, and if you're not responding to questions and you're not going through the phase, that kind of helps you a little bit for those that need that incentive. So thank you, Nathan. So on the next one, I was trying to see if you had, there you go. I don't really want to do the course evaluation one. Let's do the scholarship information and opportunities. This is Leslie Page. She's in charge of our scholarship and
Or do you want to play
research.
it?
Yeah, go ahead and play it so that they can see.
The things that we do have available is called Track 1 or Track 2 reassign time. And with Track 1, you would be reassigned within a department, 1 semester shift of a equivalent of 1 course, and it uses existing resources, and you can apply for Track 1 or Track 2, which is a much more competitive application process where the university will provide funding for reassignment of 1 course, and these applications are available each semester. Another opportunity that we're just wrapping it up this year. This is for the summer research and grant, basically. It's a competition that we hold each spring. Right now, the competition for this summer is closed. We will have it again next year, so that would be for summer of 2017. And basically with this competition, you can apply to either conduct scholarly activity or research or creative activity, or receive some funding in order to find some time to write grants. So the grant writing component of this is a brand new part. So you would receive 60% of 1/9 of your salary, And you could also teach a course in the summer if your dean gives permission. The application process is fairly simple. Basically, we ask you to write what is it you're going to be doing during this time, what are the metrics or ways you're going to evaluate your success, what are you going to do with the information, you're going to present it, you're going to submit a grant, whatever. And then after you have written it up and your chair approves that your application can go forward, it is then submitted through an electronic portal, and the deans and the provosts make the decisions. We also have faculty development funds that are available. Usually people are requesting these funds for travel, usually to present at a conference, and it's available on a quarterly basis. Basically with the sabbatical policies is the paid leave of an absence of either 1 or 2 semesters. And you, again, I will refer you to the website, Fort Hays website, in particular our MOA AAUP agreement in terms of the guidelines for sabbatical. We also have the Scholarship Environment Committee. I've been a member of this committee forever.
Okay, one of the things I wanted to point out, remember I was telling you that sometimes it's difficult to get people to do a video because they're too busy or, or they're just uncomfortable. It's kind of funny, we just went through a new ERP system called Workday. I don't know if you're familiar with Workday, but a lot of the people in the HR office or the finance office, they're like, we don't want to speak on a video. We don't want to do that. So, Nathan actually went through and created some of those videos. But for someone like Leslie Page that was just up there, you notice that some of the participants were actually eating. We do a series called Learn and Network or Lunch and Learn. So the new faculty, it's an ongoing once a month that they come in. So what we did with Leslie, we video all those because sometimes they're either teaching during the lunchtime or they don't have, that time to go through it. Then what we did is we videoed her, and then Nathan actually edited the important parts because you don't want to sit there and watch it there again, a 30-minute video. So that was that. This is the course, is this the course evaluation one?
Digital measures?
Yeah, okay. And I purposely had him bring this back up even though I really didn't want to show this one. Just because it was me talking. Is this the one?
This is with you, yeah.
But I wanted to show you how easy this is. Nathan came in and I actually just went through and guided through. We use for our course evaluation, digital measures. We did not show them digital measures during new faculty orientation. We chose to put it in here because they do have that question, how do I access my course evaluations? But it wasn't one of those things that was like so important that we needed to put it in our 3-day orientation training, but we provided this. As he's bringing this up, he's just walking, the video is walking them through where to go and how to access. We actually have on our blog, our website for our department, Nathan's done a fabulous job building the knowledge base. So we actually house some of these videos in there. So if they have to go back and review, they're only going to be in this course for a month, for 4 weeks. But then they know that they can go back into our website and pull this up. So you've kind of, you're using that resource twice. So that's what I did. So that was that Spring-Cast-O-Matic?
Yeah, it's before we had ILOs.
Yeah. So we use ILOs now, but this was done through Spring-Cast-O-Matic. So there again, it gives them an opportunity after they watch the video, they can ask questions, and then we'll respond to their questions. So, do you have any questions so far?
I'm unclear on whether this replaced your face-to-face orientation or only for some.
No, it did not replace our. This is just an enhancement for our orientation. We will still do our 3-day orientation, and then the 4th day is a professional development day. But this was something that we served 3 purposes. For the late hires that were coming in after they missed orientation, because we only do one orientation, a face-to-face, and that's in the fall. So it helped for those late hires. We could put those in September. It helps with those that are teaching virtually 100%, and then also our faculty that are, the ones that are 100% virtual, but also that are international, that are teaching in China. We still do a face-to-face with our China faculty, but there again, sometimes they can't make it here. And so, we provide that orientation with them. And then the third would just be reinforcement. Because again, there's so much information. I don't know about your orientations, how long they are, how much content you cover, but it's, in most institutions, it's a long process. And it's, it is a little bit daunting and a lot of content to cover. So, any other questions?
Can anybody go and take a look at your resources there, or is that just housed within your own?
It's housed through Curator, that's the social learning platform. I believe,
It depends on which resources. Like the map would be just something in here. I built an interactive Adobe Captivate project that I put in here. And those would only be in here, but there's a lot of videos I've put in here that you can actually go to our blog and view. It's mainly meant to be like a Khan Academy style collection for reference. You could go and learn it. I don't remember how to edit out a picture in VoiceThread and maintain my voiceover. So people can go in and watch that video that I created and go ahead and go and do it in real life.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like your handbook that's up in there, if that's only accessible through, passwords.
Oh, the employee handbook?
Oh, no, it's public.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Anyone can access that.
Yeah, okay, that's
Yeah.
my question.
The provost part of our website includes the faculty handbook, the
Mhm.
staff handbook, the adjunct handbook, that's all public
so you
information.
can just go to
Syllabus
the Provost
template.
website.
Yeah,
Okay.
they just the only thing is that in the past, they just had a hard time finding it if they actually needed it. And who remembers it? Because how often do you look at the handbook? Only when you want to, right? Only when you have a question.
Something specific, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good question. Any other questions? Sure.
Is this the only course that you're hosting in Curator, or are there other things, or is this?
We have several. I actually, she said, here, let me actually do this.
Are you sure Workday?
I'm just going to kind of scroll down all the
Okay.
ones that we have here. Like, I'm setting up this fall 2017 student teaching with a guy named Sean Henderson, and basically he's going to, Curator's part of a 3-step process that HT2 Labs offers. It's Red Panda, which is your planning process, Curator is your execution, and Learning Locker is your analysis, because it uses the XAPI, and it gauges what students are doing and how they're interacting with things. So he's building that for student teachers. They'll plan in Red Panda, execute in Curator, and then they'll go through and look at what they did and how can you improve or change your planning stages. There's new faculty orientation. This is an older one that I kind of put myself in just to show somebody how Curator works. These are our workday ones. We did this for off-campus faculty. And contrary to what Dina said, I actually did make the people at HR get on camera. I took the camera to their office and said, tough, you're doing it, sit down.
But you navigated it for them.
No, this was just like sitting talking head things where they had to be on camera. They couldn't hide behind their mouse. We have course development that our supervisor is trying to build, guiding instructors through better course development, basically. And then technology enhanced learning, where we're going to have a bunch of modules about different technologies we offer, like atomic learning, Yellow Dig, if you know what that is, Blackboard, Zoom, Campus Press, Piazza, all sorts of different things that we house in our Tilt office. So that's how we tend to use Curator for a lot of different things.
And so did you, so what made you choose to put things in Curator versus using Blackboard or make that like your
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Because so I'm the adjunct coordinator. I've been teaching online adjunct training classes that are asynchronous in Blackboard. And I created them in Blackboard, I put them in Blackboard, and I insisted that they would be in Blackboard because I wanted people to get integrated with our LMS.
Mm-hmm.
So especially for the foundations class, we have 2 levels of adjunct training classes. They're both offered online and asynchronous. We wanted the beginning adjuncts to be in the Blackboard platform because they don't know Blackboard very often. They come from a program that they got their degree so long ago they didn't engage with an LMS, or they engaged with a different one. But I have been talking more and more about moving at least my advanced adjunct class into Curator. And the reason why is this. While it's great to get to know Blackboard, and that's really important if you're going to turn around and teach from it, you still only have the student experience in Blackboard, which any of you know, if you've taken classes in Blackboard versus teaching in Blackboard, it's somewhat helpful to have the student experience, but it's not the same. But the thing about Curator is you have gates. The gaming part, you not only have a leaderboard, you have gates. So they have to complete one item to go on to the next.
So here's
Does that make
Down at the
sense?
bottom.
Yeah.
Which seems kind of
Doesn't it
mean
work?
and psychologically
Yeah.
cruel, but it works.
But it's scaffolded.
Yes.
It is scaffolding.
So and it could, you can look at it, you know, either way. In some ways, I'm going to have to, if I want to adjust my classes, because the way I have them set up, I have required modules and then I have elective modules, and they can complete any combination as long as they hit a minimum number of points. They have to do the required, and then any elective as long as they hit a minimum number of points. So I don't know for sure how I'm going to do that in Curator yet, because I've been talking to people about how to do that. But if you have mainly required content, they cannot possibly go on until they go through one and complete it, and then the gate opens to the next one.
Yeah, you can.
So it's very much a gaming,
Yeah, like for each one of these.
so there's a lot more motivation.
Yeah,
That's the social
Maybe
learning
show
part of
them
it.
Workday so that they.
I will stay here, but as you can
And
see,
they're quick, they're designed to be, I mean, it's not some horrible thing to try to get
Each week's supposed to be an hour long
told,
at
right?
most. I mean, with the first week, you might go a little over because of the welcome segment, but each one of these weeks is called a level group, and then each little rectangle is called a level. We call them modules and levels instead of level group and level because it's confusing. And you set the number of points for each object that you put in, and then you can set the percentage of completion. So basically, if you don't want to force them to do the entire thing, you want to allow them to kind of have like an option of what they want to do. I'll show you our social media viewer that I created. Our idea with the social media viewer was going to be something along the lines of, you know, view this object with social media, and then we'd have 4 objects of our social tools after. Whichever one you chose in the social media viewer, choose which one of these you want to view, and then you don't have to do the other 3 to move on to the gate, was our original idea. We thought of something a little better that would be as bad, but
Would the point value for that be the same, or would people choose the ones?
they could just choose the ones they want. They could watch all of them, but they only would be required to watch one to activate the gate, because we set the percentage a specific way. So you can, I mean, you don't have to require them to do all the points, you can require them to do all the points, it's just really how.
And they had to watch a certain amount of the time frame too, because
Yeah,
they
you
just
set up
couldn't
time
just click
frames
on
and-
it and then say,
Right.
oh, I watched it. One of the other things that was important, like the workday, every employee, because all of our payroll was going online, and so you had to access, you know, if you wanted to see your pay slip, and to guarantee that every employee, we did the face-to-face, but some of them were like, I can't come to campus, I can't, you know, whatever. And even though you offered like 15 times, they just couldn't make any of those 15 times. So we said, okay, no problem. We created a curator, so course for them to go through. So they went through that workday training through curator, because then we knew, or HR, not so much our department, we just, Nathan helped them build that. Then HR could track that, yes, every employee has, you know, officially gone through it. So that was a big task, but
well, and you can view user progress. I mean, incredibly detailed. So here's your user performance, engagement versus progress. So there's me up there because I've been throwing all this in and double checking it. Here's our supervisor, Andrew. Who's this? It's Wayne Haggard.
librarian.
There's Dina, Andy. Andy Teetnall's actually here. He's one of our library employees, so if you run into him, he's famous now. So you can track people, and as you can see here, the bar graphs, 2 finished, 8 at the start. You click on it, and then you can see who's completed it. You can even see which objects they viewed.
Tell them about the reminders. You can send out the,
Yeah,
like if you didn't,
You can set, I can't remember where it is right now under pressure here. But you can set a 7-day reminder. So if they're inactive for 7 days and don't log in and do anything, they'll get an email saying, hey, you haven't been in, you should come back in and take a look at things.
And are
basically.
some of these time sensitive that you have to have them view a certain video certain by X date, or are they just always available?
I mean, I suppose you could do that if you got creative enough, but no, we don't do that. We just kind of let them go at their own
I
pace.
just didn't know for HR purposes, there might be some things that you have to have this completed,
Oh,
you know, or
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
it kind of would force you to do it.
I mean, you could.
but even in our
theoretically.
orientation, we give them a 4-week window. You know.
Yeah, we do eventually shut the course down
Oh,
and say,
So
yeah,
we send them
you're
the
closed
modules.
out.
right.
Because we want to be able to see who's, you can set up badges in Curator too, completion badges. And we're actually, I think Andrew's gonna start talking with the provost about allowing those into tenure portfolios. And basically, if you've completed this, you get your badge. If you haven't and you're locked out, well, that's one thing missing from your tenure portfolio. You messed up, sorry, but should have done your thing.
But there's an interesting, and I don't know, do we have any psychologists in the room? Do we have any faculty? I would love to talk to a psychologist who specializes in motivation about this, because when I had done the adjunct classes before, when I first started them, because I'm a teacher and can be a bit of a control freak as a teacher, I designed all the modules and I would not open each module until the week when it was supposed to open, as if these faculty members were students, like children or something. And of course I learned from that, that's been some time now. But that was the teacher in me trying to be a teacher. And then eventually, after requests and survey results, course survey results, and they said, please, can you just have all the modules open from the beginning in Blackboard, so because I like to nail this thing out in 2 weeks and get done with it so I can focus on my classes. Well, then I did that. But even when naturally week 2 opened up on Sunday of week 2, they didn't have any special motivation to get week 1 done. Not really. Not like as soon as you get week 1 done, week 2 opens. And that's where the gates really help. And of course that's why I'm curious about what psychology would say about it. But you get kind of like rewarded. It's like the little buzzer for the dog or the mouse or whatever, right? Yay, you get open week 2. So,
and I will have to tell you what was kind of funny is some of our faculty, when we do our learning network, and we remind them, hey, don't forget to go back into your orientation, your curator. And some of them were, were like, we'd ask, because we just started this last year, so this is our second year. And so there have been some modifications based upon the feedback, and then of course just some changes within the institution. But some of them say that gamification thing, it doesn't, I'm not, that doesn't incentive.
I'm impervious to that.
Honestly, I have a hard time believing that, because some of them that were like lagging way down, as it got closer, boom, they shot way up to the top. So it was funny, because I thought it must have a little bit of bearing, because one of the gentlemen that told me that it didn't make a difference to him, that, I was like, he ended up coming for the dinner. So that was kind of neat, because it did help incentivize a little bit, I think. Questions, any more questions? Sure.
What kind of feedback generally are you getting from faculty regarding their experience in here?
And it's funny that you should ask, because we actually brought up, you can go ahead and do that, and then we'll go back to the activity. If you'll bring up the orientation evaluation, if you want to. Yep. Thank you. We actually did, through Qualtrics, conducted a evaluation with the new faculty, and we had some great feedback. This was just a generic graph that we sent out to all of our administrators through the academic council meeting. But basically what we did is we kind of combined we did a Likert scale, as you see up here. You should have the same thing. That's what Nicole's handing out. But if you take a look at the 5 and the 4, strongly agree and or agree. Like on question number 1, the course was easy to navigate, 93%. As you go through, the format was effective. We had 89%. We had some really good response from the faculty. The things that went through the range of strongly agree, or neither agree or disagree would be like your questions 5, 6, and 7. Sharing your viewpoints with your peers and felt more connected. They were more in the range of just, around 65, just for the strongly agree or agree. So that part, they didn't feel as connected as we had hoped to, but we still had some great feedback. And then number 10, I would be interested in taking another online course in this format. We had 78%, which was great. And I think what's important about this is, as you all know, it's on their own time. So it's not, you have so much on your plate as a faculty member that this gives you an opportunity. Okay, I've got 30 minutes between class, or at 10 o'clock at night, I'll just take a look. They're not long modules like Nathan was sharing. I mean, each week's only about 60 minutes of content that you have to go through, and you have 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there.
And then you can just knock down one video real quick and then come back 20 minutes later.
I don't think we ever had, at least from what I had heard, this positive of a response to our traditional faculty orientation. I think this was more positive than we've ever had in the past.
Well, and I mean, it was so positive. That's why we have. This is a new addition. I mean, you guys are seeing this before. Really, a lot of the staff and faculty at Fort Hayes are. Is we have people from our
Right, this
our
was
library
library.
setting up their own module because they wanted in on getting faculty used to Foresight itself. Because
And it
before
wasn't just one unit.
We're having a
Yeah,
hard,
we
we're having
only
a
had-
difficult time getting the.
we only had one little object in last year's, and now they're having their entire module, and they're going to have like 6 or 7 objects, and they're going to introduce them on how the library can help them with students, how the library can help them with their own scholarship and publishing, just things like that.
Hey, you said this is only like 2 years old or something? or
This will be our second year.
Second year.
Yeah, last
So
year
what
was
did you have before this?
We did not. We just had the face-to-face.
Just
We didn't
it.
have
Okay,
anything,
good.
yeah.
And then the adjuncts have had online
Yeah.
for about 3 years, but that's in Blackboard.
Right.
I have a quick question. How does it track like the completion of each of the sections? Like to open the new gates, is it like they have to view it for so long, or they have to like if it's a video, does it just that they clicked on it, or?
Oh, here, I'll show you how. So if you want to add an object, I'll just go to the map here. So you come in, you name it, you set up your social settings, and you can determine here, you can set comments, XP comments, and then comment points are separate from viewing points. So comment points, if the way you set up your gates and how each level is cleared, if you set it up to like 70%, comments can end up being optional. And actually, our contact at HT2 Labs told us, don't set, if you're looking for a social experience where people are gonna have meaningful conversations, don't set it at 100%, because then you're gonna get a lot of, okay, yeah, all right. And I actually got a lot of that on Workday, because we did have to set everything at 100% because everything was so important. You have to know this to do X, to do Y, to do Z. But in here, we set it at, usually 70 to 80%, and we got a lot of social engagement. Does anybody know what atomic learning is? Yeah, it basically is giant repository of videos over how to use Word, how to use Excel, El Capitan, stuff like that. And we put in last year an entire object in there about how to use atomic learning. And in the comments, we said, hey, go in, find a tutorial you really like, and tell people about it here in the comments. And we had people coming in and saying, oh, so we had a lot of meaningful discussions going on and people introducing themselves to one another.
Okay, so they had to gain points either by putting comments or by
viewing
stuff.
Yeah,
They
and
did the
sorry,
viewings.
I
Okay.
got totally sidetracked,
No,
but
that's
here you go to game settings, and you have your amount of points that you can give them,
Okay.
and then you set the amount of time they have to spend within each object.
Okay.
So they could not just click to open a video and have that count.
No, you
Right,
have
you
to-
could have it. Yeah. So you
They
could
could
have
be
it.
doing something else and having a run, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could turn it on and go do
which is
laundry.
actually how I
Yeah,
end up
exactly.
getting. That's how I end up getting a lot of my points. Is I'll turn the object on, and then I'll get like a text message or an email, and I'll go and do that while the video's still going, and I'll be like, oh heavens no. So that's how we.
I would cheat, because I'd skip all the videos that Beller has, and I go straight to the quizzes at the end, and I really don't care what my score is.
Yeah. So
But
here-
the gate
So
won't
the gate-
open.
the gate
The
wouldn't
gate
open.
won't.
The gate would not
No, you won't
open.
catch me doing it until the day before, like I did this July,
Yeah.
right before July 1st, then, when it was mandatory, it had to be done by June 30th, June 29th, there's 2 of us.
I think that's
Teaching
pretty
psychology,
common.
we just went in and did it right then and there, and we had one computer off over there going, and we just, thank God for librarians, because
That's right.
they want to answer our questions, and we really, as faculty, didn't care.
And,
It just
and
had to
I'm
be
glad you
done.
that's a good point, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is really not mandatory. We enroll every new faculty, this again is more of a support for our
Right.
faculty. So it just gives them, it's like a follow-up from the orientation, in case they felt, again, oh, there was so much, I don't remember what they said. So it's really just an opportunity to kind of revisit, review. So it's not really mandatory. Our workday was, because that was through human resources, they had to, in order to know how to go in and access their paychecks. And when you have over 600 employees, you don't want them all calling your office saying, hey, how do you do that? So that was a good tool for them.
Were there other products out there like Curator that you considered, or it's really Curator, there's nothing like it, and you just went with that?
That's gonna come down to Feldstein, because I mean, you guys had Curator when I got brought on board.
Yeah, and he did, our supervisor, our associate vice, well, actually he's associate provost now, for our department, he did go through and look at different
I think-
platforms, but he brought this to us, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember.
I think he might have looked at Smart Sparrow for
But he
a
did,
little
he
bit
did.
for
I
this,
remember.
but this ended up winning out.
So we knew what, we had that goal for a couple of years, we knew we wanted to do something like this, and we actually, looked at the idea, actually I started building in our Blackboard core shells for like, professional development 101. So you'd have 101, 201, and 301 for the first year experience, second year experience, third. So and then when Andrew came on, so Andrew's only been here, our boss, has been here for 2 years, and we said, hey, you know, this has been something that we've been looking at, we need to do, because there's a gap there we want to fill for our new faculty. So, so as we sat and talked, he goes, well, let's take a look. And so he started researching. He's the one that actually researched, said, hey, instead of Blackboard, let's take a look at and brought Curator. So it kind of, we had basically an outline. So we had an idea of what we wanted. Then we brought the whole team together and said, what's missing? What else should we have? And then of course we got feedback from the other administrative departments, and that's how we ended up. There you go. Okay, well, we were just going to ask you all, why don't you just for just a couple of minutes, get with someone in here and just talk, you know, is this something beneficial? Is this something, you know, something that you've learned today that may be beneficial? Something that you might, you know, have more questions about, would like to explore? Okay. And then we'll let you leave early. So if you'll just
Hi.
sort of bring that slide down.
How are you?
So we put the two questions.
Because I saw you, it was
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, look No, they're okay, but I do
Oh, okay.
See, I'm getting excited now about the possibility of those adjunct classes, especially if I can still do the elective stuff, because that's what I'm creating now. Is my own humble experience starting in the adjunct class. There's actually more to where they are now, and no, but I just want to understand. No, I'm kidding. I just it just makes me like institutional people business and always get nervous. Oh no! If I mess up, this person's giving me a shot.
No, it was more so, I mean, there's probably helpful, so that way I.
No, but I've taken those shots. What I was saying, I learned technology. It was all locked down and everything taught remotely. Sunday, just like teaching a regular class, not traditional online class. Yeah.
What would you change them to?
And it was previously it's fine. That's motivated by gates system.
Not so much as it is, I like it. Yeah, I think that would make a difference. So, anyway.
It's the Honda. Black people said, hey, you better display it. Very black and white, but it talks to black. Yeah, so great. So you take your great book and that, you look at type of it's just like you would. Yeah. I think it's a good idea. Like, you know. Trial and so I wanted to do that. I teach that now. I thought a lot of them have problems. Started out as I don't know education. Is that right? Oh, Lord, yeah, yeah. Seriously. Oh, I just ran into her again. Well, this is something that has been taken over by which is very stereotypical comment, but again, I was like, that's it. That's exactly, that's how it is. Like, the imagination is
Right now, that's what happens. I started so that's go do something. I'm not fanatic. That's
yeah, you offer oh yeah, so it could eventually. The difference is that all these other they get together. I was some states
Okay, let's kind of come back together.
And I'll never see that was my freshman year I did, and I didn't come right back. And I remember reading the way to judge.
Anyone, would anyone like to share what they thought was most beneficial?
One of them's horrible.
Yeah. Anything beneficial? Do any of you think that you'll use something similar to this at your institution? No? Yeah, maybe?
It's just a matter of, you know, Canvas or Brightspace or whatever has the ability to create a core shell that can mimic keeping track of these things. That's one thing. But I really like the fact that your provost actually went out there and found this product, and then you guys are able to use that.
Oh, and this also, keep in mind, this utilizes, you can do articulate storyline uploads in here. I'll show you just real quick. This is gonna turn into a bit of an advertisement for
I was gonna say, you should get a commission here.
HT2 ads. Well, given how much Craig at HT2 has helped me, I think I could pay it back a little bit. Even you can just do basic uploads, XAPI. I've put Adobe Captivate products in here. Actually, they didn't want, for Workday, they didn't want people to have access to the system right away because they weren't done fully building it.
Right.
So they gave me a little sandbox. I went in with Adobe Captivate and made software simulations where I went through and did different tasks like updating your profile picture or checking your payslip, and then put those software simulations in Curator so that way they could get used to moving through Workday without having access to Workday. And people really liked that since they didn't have access to the system right away. URL, if you put a URL in, that basically turns it into a web browser. So you just pull up a website, you embed video, LTI. So I mean, it's a little more than just an LMS. It's, there's really no grades. You just.
I wanna thank you for showing it, because
Cost?
I had no idea. It's cool.
I don't know the cost. I tend to avoid asking my boss how much money he spends on things.
Does that always be the first question that comes up at every
Yes.
college?
I will-
What's the cost?
That's
I
true.
will share with you, the first year last year when we did this, we could have 50 seats per month. And I believe it was free. So, and then of course, then there's always a,
First, wasn't it?
it's a pilot first, correct. And so now we are looking at purchasing, and then, I don't remember how many seats that would be, but it's around $1,000.
I have no idea, but I know when we did Workday, we had some 400 to 500
Yeah, I
people
was gonna
going
say
through the
this.
course, and they were perfectly fine buying the license and striking the deal for it. So, I mean, it's not like this outrageous.
It was, when we were looking at, okay, continuation and growing, because we have the China, the faculty that are teaching in China, it was around $1,000. So, for-
That seems reasonable.
I thought so too, very much so for, the content that we're delivering and, I mean, think about it. It's a lot cheaper than bringing people to campus and so, but,
Was that, how many users was that for?
pardon?
The $1,000 you said? How
I
many
think it was
users?
100, so I
100
need,
users.
I don't know, because it's associate vice president, provost, not, he was associate vice president of technology service, now he's associate provost.
Things keep getting.
We just
Just
have to
because-
re-engineer. Have pity on us, we just came out of a reorganization.
So he's still the same boss,
It's
just a
ongoing
title
all the time.
change, but, so he's the one that's negotiating the
Okay.
contract.
Very cool.
Any other questions? Nicole's gonna share some of our contact information, so if you have any questions, you're welcome to email us, and we will upload the slides that we handed out. So, thank you, and if you want some chocolate, please
Thank you.
grab some before you leave. Thanks for participating in the day.